I don't know how to describe it other than like a demon type of sound.
But it's silhouetted, hulking, every bit of 5.5 feet wide, 13 to 14 foot tall, pitch black.
The one thing that ran through my mind when I had this encounter was I don't have a big enough gun.
Your host, two-time witness and field researcher for more than 40 years, William Jevning. Welcome to Creek Devil.
Hello everyone, welcome to Campfire Talk. This is where we sit around the fire, put our feet up with a cold drink, and let the conversation flow. Now it's just Forrest, Chuck, Tom, and myself today. Tracy and Milo are at their doctors, and David is having some issues at his house, so it'll be just the four of us today. So, Tom, you got an announcement?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say, by the way, all the shows, the campfires are great, but this one I think is one you really want to tune into and listen. This one's got some good stuff in it. And I also want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank our Patreons. We've had quite a few of those. And if you really like the show, let us know. It doesn't cost you anything. Just click the like. And if you haven't subscribed already, be sure and subscribe so you know when we publish a new episode. We oftentimes do about 3 of those a week. And click the share button. Share it with your friends and people that be interested. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can do that. We have a link in the YouTube description for Patreon. And so for as little as $1 a month, you can support the show and become a Patreon member of Creek Devil. Okay, with that said, I'm going to hand the mic back over to Will.
You know, on Saturday's show, we were talking, Forrest gave us an update about tracks that she found first thing that morning. And I think it's interesting. Adam, I texted him right away and told him, and because he's going to go there later in the summer, and I said, geez, it's one more thing. And he asked the question, what do you think they're doing? I said, I don't honestly know. They could be testing, and I don't know how they would figure out that your alarms are off, Forrest, unless they have been testing continually. I have no idea.
Well, I didn't turn the alarms on last night because, like I told you, we had these horrible storms coming through here, and Jessica and I had already figured out that the storms were, and it seems like every night we've been having these horrible temperatures during the day. I mean, it was just absolutely wonderful. And then up a week ago, all of a sudden we just shut up and we're hitting 100. It was 109 here yesterday. 109 degrees.
No thanks.
With the heat index, with the heat index, if you can imagine this, at 115, which I don't understand the heat index. Pardon me, I'm not a meteorologist or anything like that, but I figure if the heat index says 115, then really, isn't it 115? Because they always go, it feels like 115 out here.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's pretty damn hot if you ask me.
Right.
And if the heat index says it's 115, then isn't it really 115? But I obviously didn't major in meteorology, so I guess I'll just stick with anthropology. I have enough problems with that. But anyway, so.
You know, I always wonder about that too. It's like if they say, okay, the heat index is what it feels like. Well, who cares what it feels like? That's subjective, right? To person to person. You know, just tell us what the damn temperature is.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at I have a digital temperature gauge outside, and, we don't have it posted in the sun. And, you guys remember last summer when we had all these horrible temperatures. Only problem is we never had any rain. We went for 3 months and it was like 100 degrees and there was no rain. Now we're having, every night we're having these horrible storms come in, and I'm not complaining about the rain. We just could do without the softball-sized hail. And Chuck, I mean, you even told me that in southeast Oklahoma, I don't mean to get off the subject here, but southeast Oklahoma had grapefruit-sized hail. I mean,
holy cow.
Some people have no concept what we go through here in Texas and Oklahoma to live here. and we love our states. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Texas is God's country. So,
how's the humidity though, with all that moisture?
No. It's Oklahoma. It's Oklahoma.
Oh, no. I mean, I always sing that song for you. Oklahoma, where the winds come sweeping through the pool. Where they sweep you.
How's the humidity right now, though, compared to normal?
Well, it's higher than normal. I mean, and my daughter just texted me from East Texas, and I think I told Tom earlier she's got 2 of my granddaughters and 3 of my 2 of my little grandchildren, and then 1 of my great grandchildren there at the house with her, because the substation was destroyed. They had tornadoes out there, was destroyed in Kilgore, and Henderson got hit, and Carthage is out of power, and they're saying that they may be out of power for up to a week, and they've got people bringing their pets to work.
Oh, wow.
They're allowing them to bring their pets to work rather than leave them in their homes. Yeah.
I wonder how it's affecting these creatures.
That's how bad it is. Huh?
Yeah, I wonder how it's affecting these creatures.
I'll tell you.
Well, I don't know. I mean, most of your primates, all live in tropical areas. I mean, let's face it. Granted, some of them live in sub-Saharan regions, like the baboons and such, but your great apes all live in tropical regions, and so they seem to be quite well. And they have a lot of hair on their body, so it's not like we don't have that. So that doesn't seem to bother them. So I mean, I would think that my guys are probably sitting out under the cedar trees right now, laughing at me. But I don't know. Maybe that's the reason they're testing the door all the time. They want to come in with where the AC is. I don't know, but
I wonder if
I'm not sharing.
I wonder if they're reacting differently because maybe your behavior is different with the storms. Taking advantage of that.
Well, I mean, I'm saying. Well, it's very possible, but I'm staying in more, right. And so is Jessica. I mean, we go out do our thing, and then we're in the house, and even the cats don't even want to be out. The ones that stay in the house all the time are like, no, we'll think twice about going out. No, I don't think so, not today. And all the other cats are like, they're ready to come in to their cat house come 7:30, 8 o'clock. They don't even want to wait till later. But I told you guys how it was yesterday afternoon. I mean, we got slammed, and then and when I came home, I realized that my power had been out because it was actually hot inside the trailer. And Jessica and I decided to go into town to get something to eat, and there was nobody on the road, and there was nobody in town. So I think all the storms had driven everybody into their homes. So, but my power had obviously gone out for a while. So anyway, but what I found strange, and I told Tom that it kind of bothered me, was that night here 4 nights ago when I went out and put the cats up, and I didn't take the key with me, and frankly, it was because I had already showered and put my jammies on, and I just walked out there. I mean, there's nobody's going to see me out here. I live way off the road, so it's not like anybody's going to see me. And I go out there to put my cats up, and I forgot to take the key because the key, the lock on it has to be manually locked with a key. And in between that time, in 10 minutes time, that they open that, or I shouldn't say they. I should clarify that. Somebody opened that door in that short a period of time. And in 10 minutes time, literally. And at that point, and every time, you remember what I told you was I came in the house. I looked at the cats and I said, you know what? And the thing about it too was that was really disturbing was that childproof gate that was there that I have up there to keep my dog from going in the cat house, because when I open it up, it actually, I have 2 latches on the back of the door, and it fastens up next to the building. And it's designed that way so if it gets windy outside, you don't have the door flopping or anything. And so latch that, and then I set up that gate, the childproof gate, so that the dog doesn't go in there. And it's got a little small, I don't know whether you call it a doggy door or a cat door. I call it my cat door. That's in the middle of that gate that you open up. You have to manually open it up and go in. And so you'd have to have a hand. I mean, even the dog, Lagatha can't, as big as she is, and she's an 82-pound dog, she can't hit that and pop it open. The latch is on the very top of it, and that was opened to the inside of the cat house.
Hey, here's a thought.
So
Here's a thought, though. You ever seen, I've seen videos of primates doing things, repeated things. They learn something new, and so they got to do it over and over again, whether it means anything or not. Same like with kids, right? I wonder if they do that just because they can. Maybe juveniles or something.
Well, it's just like children. They do things because they can.
Right, right.
It's not necessarily because it means anything to them. They just do it because they can.
Yeah, no purpose behind it, just
to
be doing it.
They've obviously seen me do it,
Sorry, Tom, I didn't mean to
like
cut you off.
Door.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
no, the question I had was this, okay, I was trying to follow this, and sometimes my mind wanders, so that's my fault. This childproof gate that was opened up within a 10-minute span of time, how far is that from where that gate is to your home?
Well, I've sent you pictures before of the cat house, because you were asking what the cat house looked like. And it's probably, I'm going to say 16 feet from the mobile home.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, and I was in the kitchen, but I have a window in the kitchen, but it's high up over the sink, and so and the funny thing about it is my kitchen sits. There's a corner right there that I don't know. It's kind of peculiar. They set this window right over this corner, and the sink sits at an angle in this corner in the kitchen there, and you can look at it, and you look out that window, and you can see off to the west and the northwest, but I can't see the cat house through that window. And what I had done was I had come back in here. I was going to fix pasta, so I put the water on to boil and put my seasoning and everything else in the water, and I set it on to boil while I went out to close the cat house up. And that's all I did. And I'm telling you, I couldn't have been in here more than 10 minutes, if that. So, when that happened. So, that is rather disturbing. And I even told it to Jessica. I said, well, Tom, you and I talked about it. I said, that's disturbing that they would be that quick about doing it. And it wasn't, I've told y'all before, to turn that handle and open that door on the cat house. The cats can't do it from the inside. It's a lever, and you turn it, and it locks behind that frame of the door, and it's very tight. And then when Jessica put the childproof gate in there for me, she actually went and we bought a piece of a 2x4, and it goes all the way to the roof, and it's nailed in, and it's nailed in at the bottom. And then that gate is butted up to and screwed into that 2x4. Well, that 2x4 actually sits right in front of that lever. So there is no way, and it turns down. So the cats would have to push it up, and it's very tight. And that other piece of wood is actually there blocking, so nothing from the inside can open it up. It has to be manually opened from the outside, and the door turns up. So that's not something that the wind is going to be able to accomplish, or the cats could not accomplish it from the inside. Not unless I have, not unless I've got a tiger that's, now living in there, and I just didn't see it. So,
right. Well, the reason I asked, part of it is this behavior, almost identical, the speed and the proximity, how close it is to your house. We have a gentleman that was on the show. Will, you know Lee? I mean, obviously you know Lee. He's been with us years ago. He had a situation where and I've talked about this on the show before. He had a pizza at home. I think this is one of those U-bakes. You bake it, you stick it in the oven. Yeah. He called his buddies, told them to come on over, and he stuck it out on the picnic table on his patio right by the door. And he went out there. He said it was about 10 minutes later, and it was gone, completely gone. Nobody, no people.
I guess the
that
wrong
could
friends
take
came
it,
to dinner.
Well, and that's where they did. The wrong friends came to dinner, and that's where I go back to Tracy's hot sauce. You need to make 2 pizzas.
But then you get the wrong reaction back.
Yeah, but there's a part of me that says, I don't really
like
care. Right. Oh, man.
Well, we just had a cat that spent 3 days, and I didn't say anything to you guys about this because Jessica and I were rather upset yesterday. I had a cat that spent 3 days with Dr. Dan, and he can't figure out what was wrong with her. She has neurological damage, and this cat was perfectly fine 4 days ago. And we went out there, and all of a sudden she's wobbling. She was having difficulty walking. There was nothing. He ran blood screens on her. He ran FIP, feline leukemia, everything. Of course, she'd always been tested, and I keep my cats all vaccinated for that stuff anyway. And could not find anything biologically wrong with her. And we thought, well, could one of the and this is a possibility. Maybe one of the horses kicked her. Maybe one of the horses stepped on her. Well, there's neurological damage to her, and I'm telling you. Then we came home to find another cat that was dead, just thrown up next to the house. We both sat there and looked at that until we were both crying. We were very upset. I hadn't even said anything to you, Tom, because I was so upset yesterday.
No, I haven't heard about it.
No, And I'm like, I said, what? I was asking her, what do you think? She's like, I don't know. What do you think? And I'm like, it looks like something just threw it up against the side of the house.
Wow.
And then this thing with Salem, and he sent her home. He said, I don't know what to tell you, because he said, none of us could figure out what's wrong with her. She's been neurologically damaged, and I don't know how it happened. And
do you ever fix pizza?
Do I fix pizza?
Oh.
No, I usually buy pizza.
Will knows exactly where I'm going. Yeah. Pizza, potassium cyanide, that sort of thing.
Well, I tell you what, I thought of a lot of things, and I think I also told you too that I had a conversation with somebody that is near and dear to my heart and about these things. And I told him that if I called him at 2:00 in the morning or 3:00 in the morning, telling him that to meet me at the office, and he agreed that he would, and he didn't laugh. Well, actually, he chuckled when I first said it, and he said, "I'm not laughing at you." And he said, "Are these out in East Texas on Michelle's property?" And I went, "No." I said, "Well, yeah, they are," but I said, "That's not what I'm talking about." I said, "I'm talking about on the ranch here," and and he went, "Oh," and I said, "Yeah." I said, "If I call you up at the wee hours of the morning," I said, "you're the only person that I trust to do a necropsy." He said, "Bring it on." And you know who I'm talking about. So
now I do. Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
and
Well, now
he
wait a
said, and
second.
he even made the comment. He said, "I'm not laughing at you." He said,
Good.
because I had the distinct impression when he was sitting there smiling at me as many times as he's been hunting in Colorado and Montana and New Mexico. I have the distinct feeling. Oh, he believed in him. He believes in him. He
Okay.
told me that, and he
Yeah, I
said,
know who it is.
I have a distinct feeling that he probably has seen one.
Well, you know, I've asked more than once, and I know what your position is. I think Will's too, but mine, just my curiosity is when you dissect one of these things, would it be a necropsy or potentially an autopsy or a combination of the two? Don't know.
Well, I said necropsy, and so did he. So, and I guess
You
that's
did.
where we'll leave it until further knowledge is assessed.
We'll leave it there. Yes. So I want to get into what you
The
sent. Yes, those are pretty darn incredible. Those are
Well,
absolutely. We've been wanting this for a long time.
well, and you know, it was kind of shocking to me because I walked out all the way out there to the cat house this morning, let the cats out, and then turned around and came back up, and I wasn't even looking down, and then I happened to just look down, and I went, oh, what have I got here? And you know, I did turn the alarm off last night because, like I said, we have to when we have these, and I don't know whether it's the lightning that does it or what, but we had incredible lightning last night. It was just, I mean, when Jessica and I were coming back from Marble Falls, it was just an incredible light, show out there with all the lightning. But it sets off the alarm. I mean, just every time it would lightning, the alarm would go off. So we finally just turned the thing off, and it stormed from about 1 o'clock till I don't really know when it quit, except that I had gotten up at 5 o'clock this morning, and it was no longer raining, and so I went out and let the cats out between 7:30 and 8. I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to the clock. So somewhere in that short period of time, those footprints appeared. And I looked down, and there was two of them that were smaller, like 8 to 9 inches, that were just clear as a bell. Now, you saw that one. And I had to laugh because when I waited till Jessica got up because she's got an iPhone and I wanted her to take the pictures, and she followed me out. And I walked on the grass and I thought she was following me. She wasn't. She was coming down the path. She didn't realize, and I said, "Oh no, you gotta stop." And then I looked down and went, "Oh no!" And she was standing right on top of the first set. And then she was kind of like, "Oh my God, I ruined it," and she did, and because she had boots on. Treaded boots, and it completely destroyed that first one. And then the second one is the one that I sent you that's the shorter one, and you can see that is really, really clear. You can see, yeah. And then the third one is the bigger one. So, I mean, Tom and Will, and Chuck, I saw those things. And Chuck, you remember what I told you? I looked up. I was looking around the yard because I thought, oh my God, this has not been that long,
Right.
And could they still be in my yard? And,
They are. They're watching you.
And I hightailed it for the door.
Of course, you remember it was only like 2 days ago when we were talking about putting something on the ground like flour or something like that to catch tracks, because I felt by all the events that have been happening around your place that they're coming up close. And
yeah, that was the next day after they'd opened that door out there. Remember, because you said, "Oh, you need to put flour down." Yeah. Of
course,
I did.
That didn't work.
No, No, didn't have a thing, guys. Nothing.
But then you get the tracks the next day.
Well, 2 days later. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 days later.
So they got to be watching. And Jessica said when y'all were having a hard time getting home, and she had paused because she said she'd heard the conversation, and she says, I'm going after tonight. And because she's got some kind of a special deal on her iPhone that actually, and y'all probably know what it is, that works real good at night. And it actually heightens the picture. I don't have that. It just looks like a black blob on my phone. The Android just doesn't work as well. So she's going to go out there and she's going to take a picture of those cedars so that you can get an idea of how black it is out there at night under those cedars.
No, that'd be great to get that. One thing, if we're talking about cameras, I just want to point out when people take pictures, when you take pictures, Jessica, me, Will, anybody, you're taking a picture with a camera that essentially has one eyeball, okay? And that's what it uses. So it sees the world in 2 dimensions. Even if you take a picture of, 3-dimensional, forest or neighborhood or whatever, it's still in 2 dimensions. You and I and all of us with 2 eyes, when you look at something, we're seeing it stereoscopically with 2 eyes. And that's why footprints, so many times people take a picture and they go, "What? Yeah, this is the picture, but it looks so much different when you're looking at it." Now, I will say that there are cameras out there. Last I checked, they start at about $1,000 that have 2 lenses on them. They're stereoscopic cameras, and I think they require special viewing equipment to see them. But just a real interesting case in point that when you're taking a picture of something that really requires 3 dimension to fully understand it, like footprints, don't be so skeptical. Not saying that you are, but if somebody's skeptical, that's part of the reason why pictures, they are what they are. Because the camera has one eyeball. So that's a long-winded explanation, but anyway, I hope that helps.
Well, yeah, they didn't look near as good on even in the picture as they did sitting there looking at them. And then y'all wanted me to go out and, of course I didn't. I had to go look for my tape measure. And then by the time I go back out with my tape measure, it's raining out there. So everything was gone. So who knows? We may have some more tonight. But, that is on granite gravel. So even a youngster with a 9-inch print, they've got to have some weight behind them. I can walk out there in my bare feet, and I don't make any prints. My toes don't make any prints in that.
Oh, they do. Remember?
They won't.
You remember the pictures we got from Jason? They were roughly the same size, and he's a 200-pound guy and barely made a marking in the soil there, and those tracks were a couple inches deep in that material.
And I've seen that here in Oregon. Will, you remember the area that, one of the areas that we went with the team, probably 30 or 40 miles from our regular area. And we went up there, and Kurt found it. A guy's good at finding stuff. 17-inch footprint in compacted soil that has rocks or a little bit of the, some of the road, the material, the 3/4 minus or whatever they use in the road bed. And yet, in spite of all that, this thing we had 2 very good footprints. So, case in point.
Well, you remember,
that's what they do.
You remember last summer, the 18-inch prints we found were as deep as the truck tires.
Yes. And you had to ask yourself, okay, that was, I don't remember if that was a dually truck or whatever. I think it was a very heavy Forest Service truck, I'm sure, that went up there. How heavy does this thing have to be as heavy as those truck tires?
Got some weight.
The answer is heavy. Yes.
Yeah, well, I drive a dually too, so I know how heavy those trucks are.
Yeah. And what do we we concluded, Will, that, see, we were up there in July, end of July,
And those were older
and
prints.
last week of July.
Yeah, those are older
They
prints. Probably
were.
from
We had
what,
monsoons.
May or June, I
Yep.
think you said.
Yeah, we had monsoons in May. Yeah, May or June, and late May, early June. So they'd been there for a while, and it was in a very remote area too. Remember that?
Oh yeah, it was way up there.
Well, you know what disturbs me, guys, and I think I threw this out to you, Tom, and I know Chuck and I actually the other night were talking about this. What disturbs me is that was a 10-minute time that I went out there. Now, granted, Chuck said he thinks it's just juveniles. Well, obviously, from the size of that one print, we've got a juvie out there. We know we've got a juvie out there because Jessica and I saw the juvenile in the middle of the road. But here's what disturbs me. 10 minutes passed. 10 minutes elapsed in the time that it took me to come in the house, put the water, measure the water out, put it on to boil, and then go back out and lock it up. Now, granted, it might be juvies messing around with me, but what if it's not? Why? I told you this, Tom. Am I being baited?
Well, we were wondering that. We were wondering if you're being targeted for some reason.
Well, and I hadn't really until, and then the cats, and that, I'm telling you, she and I both were just, okay, I've got one cat now she's confined to a big kennel and she can't hardly get around. And he didn't suggest that we put her down or anything like that, but that she might get better, just kind of wait and see. But why are these things happening? That other cat didn't just get that way on her or on him on his own. So, I don't think he took a flying leap at the trailer. So,
well, we have never concluded that these creatures are benign, and that's the nicest thing we can say about them. They have. One time when I was out in the field with two other guys, and we encountered these things, and 10:30 at night, one of these things climbed up into a tree. This is maybe 40 yards from our position, and began torturing a bird for about 2 or 3 minutes. I actually put it in a report. It's like, why would you do that? What's the purpose for that? Other than just mean and evil.
Well, and you know what? We know what chimpanzees do. Baboons will go and take baby animals, even baby lions and baby leopards, and then you'll have the mothers trying to get those babies back, and they will taunt them with them. And then sometimes eventually kill them. And
wow. I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I hate baboons. They're another ones that I dislike. But I've seen macaques take, we had those in, and I can't remember now if they were macaques or langurs that were in India, that a dog had killed one of the juvenile, I think it was macaques. So they had killed one of the juveniles, and then the whole troop started killing dogs. And they would take the puppies up in the top of the trees and then would drop them. Well, a puppy's not going to survive a fall like that. So,
and what was the macaques for doing this?
Yes, because
really?
the dogs had attacked and killed a baby macaque, and and so they just in mass went after the dogs, and they would sneak in and get puppies and dogs and haul them to the top of the tree.
Vindictive.
And drop them. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess in a way we shouldn't be surprised because, primates are very intelligent, but even things like, bears are vindictive, coyotes wolves, those things are very, very vindictive. Raccoons are. So.
Well, and
raccoons.
saying that I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I haven't seen my raccoons in 3 days. I haven't seen my raccoons.
Well, I hope you do.
Well, I do too, because I kind of like Sweetie and Ricky. I had Ricky for a long time, almost 10 years now, and Sweetie just 2 years. So, I mean, you get attached to even those little banditos.
Oh, they are something else. They can tear things to pieces around your property. You know, rip up the if you got one of those inflatable swimming pools and all that kind of thing. Yeah, they'll shred them. But that said, so I guess, you know, going back to, I don't think it should be a big surprise that these creatures are also, it's more than vindictiveness, because there's no reason. You haven't done anything that we can think of.
Well, anything that you think is wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Except I locked the food up in the barn. I mean, but you know,
there you go.
That's it.
Yeah.
But it's been that way for a year, guys. So
they're finally getting back at you.
So, you know, and there's plenty of deer out there. It's not like they're lacking for food.
Yeah, but you're making them work for it.
You know.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yes.
Heaven forbid that, you know.
Well, I can't afford to buy feed for them and for the horses too. So somebody needs to explain that to them. We'll get up here and use your Bigfoot conversation.
That's right. Look, guys, you got to change your behaviors.
How it is. Well, you know, that's kind of like explaining to a chimpanzee that their behavior is bad. They just give you the middle finger and then show you their canines.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that was, again, you know, we've talked about Lee's little episode on the Oregon coast, but he went over there to help a family. And he goes into the forest. And you remember that story, Will? And then he gets surrounded by these things, or they're coming in on him anyway.
He's like a number of people that I've been in contact with over the years. You know, you talk to them, you know, you educate them, tell them the do's and don'ts, and then what do? They go out and do the exact thing that you said not to do. So when it comes back on you, it's on you. If I tell you not to do something or not to do it, and you go against the advice, that's on you.
Did you ever advise him that what he should do is go out into the forest, find a whole bunch of deadfall trees, climb underneath them in the afternoon?
In fact, you know,
okay.
He used to call me after he'd do some bonehead thing, you know, and you could tell that he was sheepish about it, and you know, he wasn't a very sheepish guy at all, real overly type A type guy,
right?
And the first thing he'd say when he called me, he says, he'd kind of be in a low voice, "You're going to call me a dumbass." I knew right away when he prefaced the call with that where it was going. And I say, yes,
and then he's telling me, he told me, Tom, what you need to do is, and he very authoritatively, you know, you need to go out and you need to get a heavy jacket on and climb underneath and spend hours under there until about 2 or 3 in the morning. And then they're going to come looking for you. And I'm like, I am not going to do any such thing. Oh, well, you're just a wimp and you're a chicken.
But you know what? He never did that.
Yeah.
So he's giving you advice on something he didn't do or wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, hop to it, buddy.
Did he tell you how to shirt that said the bait on it by chance?
And I remember that one time he got surrounded by him. He's firing the shotgun in the air while he's trying to get the heck out of Dodge. Gets into his truck and he parks into the parking lot of Fred Meyer underneath one of those, you know, those bright parking lot lights. I know exactly where it was. And he was so terrified. He spent the night under there.
Mr. Braveness there.
Yeah.
Geez, guys,
Well,
don't you
isn't
want to
that what-
name this person?
Isn't that what Todd Standing did up in Canada a lot? Was pile up in the brush and.
Oh, I thought you were going to say go to the Fred Meyer parking lot and sleep under a light.
Yeah.
Or is that the reality?
Yeah. Now, who's this guy in Canada? What did he do, Chuck?
Todd Standing.
Oh, Todd
Yeah.
Standing. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like I remember seeing videos of him getting in the brush and kind of sitting down in the brush and covering himself up with snow and all kinds of other stuff, and that's how he was able to do the magic shot.
So what? So,
Well, and
now wait a minute. Now what are you saying? He's trying to make himself to the Bigfoot like kimchi. You know, they boil, they put the pots in the ground. You know, the cabbage.
right.
Yeah.
They said, look, he's
Well,
fermenting himself for
I
us.
like kimchi.
Is it possible? I'm just going to throw this out as a question. I'm not making an accusation, but if you're not really dealing with Bigfoot, but you're dealing with Muppets, is it? You can do whatever you want, right? You don't. There's no repercussions, correct?
Well, that
Right.
would be the word,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Just saying. I was thinking. That's all.
Well, Chuck, did they ever have any results from that?
I don't know. I just remember him seeing himself cover up with snow, and of course I think he had like a white hoodie on or a white jacket or something, so he would blend with the snow, and he did that with the sticks and everything else too as well. So I don't know if he ever got any results other than the Muppets.
Well, that was how he was claiming he was getting all those shots, headshots. You know, the ones that are his actual headshots, but, you know, he was claiming that he got them, you know. Well, Anyway. He just forgot that Bigfoot don't have lips, and he's got
Yes.
perfect Cupid bow. He has a perfect Cupid bow on his upper lip, and he didn't figure out how to cover that up in all of those headshots. So, I mean,
Well,
you
that
know,
red one
I
with
kind
the
of figured that
lips.
one out pretty quick.
Well, Forrest, the red one with the lips and the little petite nose that it has. It's like,
Really?
you remember that? It's like, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe they're different up in Canada.
Are you
I don't
talking
know. I
about the
could be
one
wrong.
that kind of vaguely resembles Michael Jackson?
Well, it certainly looked like a Muppet. It, you know, once you have that thought in your head, you can't get it out when you see these things. So, yeah.
Well, even the blonde one, I mean, it didn't look right.
The one that was his face, you mean?
It had golden hair on it. Yeah. Just didn't look right.
Of course, you know, we'll all probably be banished to the off of YouTube tomorrow after. Oh my God, we were talking bad about.
Well, it's just speculation.
Oh yeah.
Just questions.
Speculation.
That's all it is.
Yeah. We're just speculating that maybe that might be the situation.
That's right.
Well, maybe
we
I
don't
shouldn't
know.
have brought that topic.
What's that, Chuck?
Maybe I shouldn't have brought that topic up.
Well, we can simply say that we weren't there. That's all.
That's right.
That is true.
Nor would we want to be.
No.
I really don't have any desire to be that close.
Well, I'm sure Todd Standing wouldn't bite, but you know, you could be that close.
Oh heavens! You know, I wouldn't want to be that close to a gorilla in the wild. I wouldn't want to be that close to a chimpanzee. Definitely not a chimpanzee in the wild, and definitely not a baboon, and definitely. Well, there's a lot of them that I really wouldn't want to be that close to in the wild.
No, it's probably not
So
the
it's
best
a
thing.
second hole for Bigfoot.
Well, and it's not limited to primates. I mean, bears and mountain lions and all that stuff.
You
No.
You guys were talking about hoaxing and stuff, and I think it's just really funny how some of the extremes are out there of what people try to do to make themselves look legitimate.
Oh, yeah.
You know what gets me about that is it's totally unnecessary. If you do the hard work and you do the effort and the work, you don't need to hoax. You can, maybe it depends where you live, but you can actually get results, real results. You don't have to do the hoaxing stuff. But I think the hoaxing, there's a whole lot less investment involved. You just go out and do whatever stupid thing you do and film it.
Yep. You're right.
Well, I've never understood the why. I mean, is it the notoriety? I mean, it's not like they're getting any money out. Well, some of them have. I mean, I know that Dyer got money, and he got into a lot of big trouble because of that. But, you know.
I think I was watching something the other day. There's 5 basic reasons for hoaxing. Now, they were talking about in relation to UFOs, but I think it applies to anything. So some of it is the notoriety, and some of it is just trying to prove that maybe something does not exist. And then there's like I said, there's 5 basic reasons. I was like, wow, I didn't realize there's that many. But I think some people just get a kick out of it. But there's got to be a payback. That's the thing. So Will has brought this up. When you find evidence deep into the national forest, deep into the wilderness areas where nobody's around, that's not a hoax. That's seriously not a hoax, because there's no payback.
Well, you remember, and I go back to those 18-inch tracks we found last July. That was so far in the middle of nowhere, and and that road was one that was not drivable, so you couldn't get in there unless you were going in on foot. And there was there was really no reason to be up in there. So yeah, if you're going to fake something, you know, how in the world? What
well, they
for?
didn't look fake.
What for? I mean,
yeah.
Who's going to see them? I mean, it's kind of a wasted effort, if you ask me.
Well, you have to specifically know somebody was going to stumble across it.
Exactly.
The only footprint hoaxes that I'm aware of, and I don't really look into the hoaxes that much, so there may be stuff out there that I don't know about, but is the Northern California, where who was it? Ray
Wallace.
Ray Wallace, yes. And he actually, I thought he had a purpose for it, which wasn't entirely hoaxing, but he wanted to say, hey, this is a hoax because they needed the workers to get their job done. And some people were leaving because they were afraid by seeing all these big, I don't know if that's it or not.
People say that, but, having known, Dehinden and all them guys, I think the real reason was he was ticked off because they kind of pushed him out of the limelight. Him and Bob Titmus were doing a lot of, work in the area, and he wasn't there a whole bunch. I mean, it wasn't, I don't recall any of the workers leaving because there were footprints being found up there. It was because he was in that, and then when Green and Hinden come in there, he kind of got pushed out of the way. So then he decided to, what do they call it? He was kind of a spoiled sport, so to speak. He wanted to come in there and just debunk the whole thing, since he couldn't be part of it. Nobody was going to be part of it.
Sour grapes,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I think it was.
Now, it's just hard to understand how the way some people think. I just, I never chose all this. And of course, I always laugh and say that, as an anthropologist, I always joked when I was in college, I'm going to go out and discover Bigfoot. How did I never knew that
they
Bigfoot
discovered
was
you.
discover me. So, and you know what? There's times I wish the heck they hadn't.
I can agree with that. I know fully what you mean.
I mean, there's times that I walk out the door and I just think, I wonder what else I'm going to going to find, tonight or this afternoon or this morning or, what else is going to happen? And you know what I am really surprised is that they've never messed with the horses. They've never messed with the horses.
Do you think the horses are aware of their presence? I mean, have the horses ever done whinnying or any kind of indication, at 2 a.m. that, hey, something's going on out here?
Well, I've heard them go dashing about, running about out there. I don't think they'd necessarily be screaming or making much noise unless one of them attempted to take them down or something. But I mean, I've had babies out here, and I've never had anything kill a baby. So,
I haven't heard of too many cases where they bothered horses either. The gold amber thing in Yakult, they had a horse. That's how the family there first became aware that the creature was there. Was the horse was making a little ruckus. It was tied in the corral, and then in Skamania County, I got a report one time there was some people witnessed one of the creatures chasing either goats or sheep, and they had horses on the property, but they didn't bother the horses. They were after these other animals. But them bothering horses, I think I don't know, maybe they just leave them alone for who knows what reason.
Well, I know that I knew a guy years ago that had horses, and they also kept a couple of mules around. And he said, hey, if something comes in harassing the horses and they get by one of those mules, it's going to end up in the next county. You get behind a mule, and Forrest, is that pretty accurate?
Yes, it is. And I mean, actually, the ranches around here, it's true about donkeys too. And donkeys aren't big, but they put donkeys out with their sheep and goats because they keep they will stomp a mud hole in a coyote.
Yeah. They do that here in Oklahoma too. A lot of the farmers and ranchers have donkeys or mules.
Yeah.
And then if they get a hold of the coyote, Forrest, you've told me this, they bite. They will bite them good and hard.
Yeah, and they will throw them too. I even had a horse that I had to watch him. He's been deceased now for about 5 or 6 years now, but it was a stallion that I had, an older stallion that I'm telling you what, you had to watch him. I had a black cat that used to stay down at the barn all the time, and he'd go meandering through his paddock all the time, and I'm like, oh, Johnny, don't be doing that. Don't be doing that. And then one day, out of the clear blue, here comes Shorty out of his stall, just making a beeline straight for that cat, Johnny. And he grabbed that cat by the back of the neck, and he must have thrown him 30 feet. And that was how far he threw him. He threw him up in the air about another 15 or 20 feet. And that cat, I watched that cat go sailing, and I just knew that when that cat landed, he was going to be dead. And you know what? Johnny got up. He kind of shook himself off and just walked right into the barn like nothing had happened. But you know what? I never saw him go back in Shorty's paddock again.
Got the message across, huh?
Yeah.
I think he got the message.
Got the memo.
But I just knew that cat was going to be dead. And I was like, oh, my God, he just killed my cat.
Well, I'm curious if any of our listeners in the UK or in Europe live on a farm. If you have, send us an email, questions@creekdevil.com about the behavior of horses and mules. I think it's going to be worldwide, but is that something that is that farmers and ranchers do in your neck of the woods if they have donkeys or mules in with their horses to keep the predators at bay? We'd like to hear from you guys.
Yeah, I think my horses, if Bigfoot tried messing with them, that horses are pretty self-reliant as far as kicking. I mean, they pack a powerful punch. I mean, many a person has been killed by a horse, kicking them in the head or elsewhere. So,
which kind of takes us to the mane braiding thing.
Oh God! Don't even get me started on that.
We don't want to go into that.
Yeah. Yeah, let me tell you what ranchers, and it's long been known that this happens. I have mares, and we periodically have to go out there and just cut their manes down because I don't let them. I let them grow, and when we're not grooming them, they're just being bred all the time. Now, when they're being shown, it's an entirely different situation. But they're just out in the pasture. I let their manes grow. Well, they develop what we call witches' braids, and it looks like somebody went out there and just braided their mane. Not real good, but you can see it looks like their manes got braided. And Bigfoot didn't do it. Bigfoot didn't hold my mare down and put braids in her mane. Neither did they attempt to rape my mares. I would hate to think what a male Bigfoot would look like after attempting to do that to one of my mares. So he probably wouldn't be walking right for a while. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that subject.
And that was only part of that whole thing too. So, what was the theory about, now we're talking 3 creatures, like the horse wouldn't be aware of the approach of 3 of these creatures, and it would just stand there and, 2 of them would hold it down while the other one was raping the unsuspecting animal while it was getting its mane braided.
Well, I think they said that they were braiding the mane because that was something to help them assist them in holding the horse. So you got to have a horse stand still long enough for it to be the mane to be braided by. And I can't imagine that a horse is going to stand there while this strange looking animal to them is attempting to braid their mane.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's not not exactly
much less do anything else to them.
not exactly into that kind of grooming of its mane. So, well, guys,
right.
I think we can wrap this session on that one. Oh,
heavens.
All right, folks. Well, listen, thanks for stopping by, and join us next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Creek Devil. If you or anyone you know has had an encounter with these creatures, please contact us at williamjevning@yahoo.com. That's William, Jevning, @yahoo.com. All communication is confidential. Join us for another program next week. And until then, keep your eyes open out there.